Since the first lockdown in March 2020, the global retail business has endured extraordinary transformation along with a number of problems. With non-essential stores forced to close during the lockdown and the majority of the population confined to their homes, shoppers resorted online to purchase both everyday essentials and indulgences to alleviate the lockdown weariness. At that time, the only available choice for people to meet their demands was e-commerce. But what effect has this had on global e-commerce as a whole? Well, although the pandemic has increased uncertainty in numerous ways, but one tendency has emerged, that it has significantly accelerated online shopping or growth of e-commerce. Or we can say that the pandemic has resulted in a spike in e-commerce and rapid digital transformation in the midst of weakening economic activity. As lockdowns became the new normal, firms and customers went digital, providing and purchasing more goods and services online, increasing e-share commerces of global retail trade from 14% in 2019 to around 17% in 2020. And you must be thinking, what made e-commerce to boom? Let's explore.
You know, if you zoom out and look at where we are today, I mean, e-commerce sales, the percentage of retail sales went from 14% of retail sales at the beginning of COVID to almost 30% today.
Even before the onset of coronavirus, booming e-commerce sales have come at the expense of in-store sales. And now the global pandemic is only accelerating this trend.
Even before COVID-19, e-commerce was rapidly expanding. However, the pandemic drove even more customers online, causing them to spend more money online and more frequently. So, while this transformation was already taking place, COVID-19 served as a catalyzer of digitalization. As a matter of fact, e-commerce expansion is mainly contributed to an increase in digital financial services available to small firms and consumers. And their investments in digital and omni-channel, which were originally planned over several years, were carried out in just a few months. And businesses who were able to adapt to digital platforms profited in general, while traditional retailers with weak online strategies suffered, with several famous ones declaring bankruptcy. The COVID-19 pandemic also accelerated the expansion of e-commerce with increase in supply, assisting in the creation of new e-commerce businesses and the digital transformation of existing businesses, particularly at the level of small and medium enterprises, SMEs. This has enabled retailers to remain operating during the lockout times and increase goods availability. China's online share of retail sales rose from 19.4% to 24.6% between August 2019 and August 2020. And according to global data, the market value of China's online retail sector in 2021 was $793.9 billion, up 21.6% from 2020, and is predicted to reach $941.8 billion by the end of 2022, as shown in this graph. And this graph right here shows how pandemic added extra $218.53 billion to U.S. e-commerce sales. According to Digital Commerce 360 projections, customers spent $870.78 billion online with U.S. retailers in 2021, a 14.2% increase from $762.68 billion in 2020. Similarly, more of the UK public have been shopping online than ever before and exploring what online avenues can replace traditionally offline purchases. The online sales have even outperformed projections for year 2020. Initial predictions were for 11% growth, which is now predicted to reach 19%. In fact, the highest increases happened in a number of developing countries. In the UAE, the proportion of internet users who purchase online has more than doubled, rising from 27% in 2019 to 63% in 2020. In Bahrain, the proportion tripled to 45% by 2020, while in Uzbekistan, it increased from 4% in 2018 to 11% in 2020. Moreover, in Thailand, which already had a relatively high uptake before the pandemic, a 16% point rise meant that for the first time, more than half of internet users, 56%, shopped online in 2020. Now let's talk about the e-commerce tech giants like Amazon and Alibaba. Global coronavirus pandemic was a dramatic reversal of fortune for these tech giants. When many companies didn't survive the pandemic, Amazon emerged stronger than ever. Because of the enormous volume of orders during the epidemic, Amazon was able to function more efficiently. The company used its warehouses more efficiently, and delivery workers made more stops on their routes, spending less time driving between customers. The number of things sold by Amazon increased by 44%. Prior to the pandemic, Amazon accounted for roughly 4% of total retail sales in the United States. However, as a result of the pandemic's new habits, it is expected that by 2025, e-commerce will account for 1/4 of total retail sales, up from 15% last year. Then there is Alibaba. Alibaba Group Limited is emerging as one of China's largest corporate winners of the coronavirus crisis, with the opportunity to expand its businesses and strengthen its position as a crucial component of the country's socio-economic engine. And although many businesses were suffering from the virus's interruption, Alibaba has witnessed increased traffic to its online markets and increased demand for services such as Chinese food delivery. In fact, the local governments have even used its cloud services to develop health tracking apps. However, all of this conversation raises some severe concerns. Did e-commerce enterprises in the least developed countries experience the same economic boom? And will the trend towards more online buying last, or will customers revert to their old habits? Well, there's no doubt that e-commerce and digitalization aided many people in navigating the pandemic, from online shopping to curbside pickup to meal delivery. Digital technology have assisted in mitigating some of the virus's negative effects and ensuring the continuation of numerous economic activities. So, catastrophic events can be powerful catalyzers of change. But during such events, some rise, some fall. Almost immediately, the COVID-19 pandemic boosted reliance on digital technology and webs, which played a critical role in assisting firms in weathering the brunt of the shock. Many governments changed their policy and launched programs to address pressing needs. Despite these efforts, persistent digital disparities suggest that not everyone was able to participate. As a matter of fact, the least developed countries, LDCs, were not equally equipped for becoming digital. According to the International Telecommunication Union, approximately 27% of people in LDCs were using the internet services in 2021 compared to 90% in developed countries. As a result, in many of the world's least developed countries, consumers and businesses have been unable to capitalize on pandemic-induced e-commerce opportunities due to some barriers, such as expensive broadband services, over-reliance on cash, a lack of consumer trust, a lack of digital skills among the population, and government's lack of attention to e-commerce. Informal commerce was severely impacted in least developed nations during the pandemic. Women, for example, are heavily involved in business in Myanmar, Bangladesh, and even Pakistan. The digital gap, which existed long before COVID-19, is a barrier that can be overcome with our collaborative efforts and international assistance. It requires speedier digitalization for small enterprises and greater focus on digital entrepreneurship, including reskilling, particularly among women. Finally, the international community must develop new, bold, and creative methods to collaborate with governments and the commercial sector to capitalize on these opportunities. Therefore, much work remains to be done to properly harness the power of e-commerce for a post-COVID recovery that is sustainable, resilient, and inclusive. Now, to answer the second question, how long will the transition to online shopping last? And what path will the retail business take in response to these changes? The pandemic, and especially the lockdown, has changed the traditional shopping practices. Many people who had never ordered a grocery delivery online previously are now doing so on a regular basis. In fact, 67% of consumers report they shop differently now due to COVID-19. So, it is predicted that the COVID-19 pandemic's fluctuation, or the ways it affects our purchasing behaviors, will most certainly continue for the foreseeable future. The COVID-19 pandemic created long-term shift in the retail industry. Moreover, in years to come, 2020 will be remembered as the year with unexpected growth in the digital and e-commerce sectors, which have exploded in the aftermath of the COVID-19 issue. If you found this video informative and enjoyed the content, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button as well. Thank you for watching.